Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is dedicated in loving memory of Lois Wagner, Leilin Nishmat Leah Ruchel Bat Leib, on her third Askara yahrzeit, sponsored by her children, Nancy and Robert. Also, the learning for this week is dedicated by the Daniel S. Loeb Torah Center, Chazak Baruch, dedicated for a speedy and complete Fu'ah Shlema for Shemuel ben Geraz, Be'ezrat Hashem. Also for the Fu'ah Shlema for Chana Bat Tzemah Fegen and Leah Shimon Mazal Fortuné. And the week of Kobru is sponsored by David E. Ash in honor of you and your unwavering commitment doing good for the state of Israel and for others around you during these challenging times today and every day. Okay. Rabotai, I want to read you a pasuk. The pasuk says, Imna masati chen be'enecha. If I have found favor in your eyes, sim nayadecha tachat yirechi ve'asita imadi chesed ve'emet. Please swear to me on the mitzvah of Brit Milah. Promise me, swear to me that you're going to do with me a kindness. What does he say? Ask them for? Al na tikbereni b'Mitzrayim. Please don't bury me in Egypt. Why? Because Yaakov was Halabi, didn't want anyone to think he was Masri. No, what was the reason? Why did he beg them not to be buried in Egypt? A lot of reasons. So you're saying something beautiful. He wanted to be buried in Ma'at HaMachpelah. That's the positive side. He wanted to be where he wanted to be, but he was also very afraid of being in Egypt because they would turn him into Avodah Zarah. Yaakov Avinu, when he first came, there was years left. Yosef said, everyone should come down. You know what's going to happen when you come down? I'll sustain you. There's 5 more years to the famine. What happens? Yaakov Avinu comes down to Egypt. Famine ends, disappears. So when I was young, I thought, well, if the famine ended after 2 years, Paro should have fired Yosef. You told us 7 years. You made us crazy. We put up enough grain to last a lifetime. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. It was 7 good years and 2 famine years. The answer is, first of all, Paro was a very rich man. He wasn't going to fire him for that. But second of all, much more importantly, it says that he saw that when he walked to the Nilus, to the Nile River, the water would come towards Yaakov Avinu, which was the irrigation problem. So they saw that the fact that the famine was stopping wasn't random and Yosef was wrong. Rather, it was solved by the fact that Yaakov Avinu had come to Egypt. When a tzaddik comes to a place, it brings beracha. Like we say, zecher tzaddik livracha. Even the very mention of a tzaddik brings beracha. But Yaakov Avinu says, I don't want to be buried here. The people who know that I stopped the famine are going to treat me like a deity. They're going to come bow Avodah Zarah at my grave. He was very nervous that the Egyptians would not understand what a hilulah is. They would think that you're bowing to the person in the grave, not praying to him that he should intercede on your behalf in Shamayim. So Yaakov says, please don't bury me here. Do a kindness with me. What does Rashi say on those words? Do kindness with me. Chesed she'osim im hametim. A kindness that you do with those that are dead. Hu chesed shel emet. Is a chesed of truth. What does kindness of truth mean? Normally, when a person does an act of kindness, there's an element of payback that comes back to that person. What could that payback be? Listen, I lent you money. I gave you money when you were down. Who knows, later on down the line, you might save me. You might work for me. You might do me a favor. You might buy me a present. What if the guy has no money? Maybe you'll talk nicely about me in the knis. Maybe you'll suggest a shidduch for my child. I don't know. There's something I could get from you. But when the person passed away already, and they have no opportunity to do kindness back with you, what's that called? That's called Hesed Shel Emet, a kindness of truth. That kind of kindness, my friends, is unbelievably powerful. We already discovered this idea when we talked about the Kohen Gadol, that the Kohen Gadol is not allowed to become Tameh even to members of his own family. So he can't go to the burial Hazit of his own wife, of his father, mother, sister, child, etc. He's not allowed to become tameh to anyone, except chesed shel emet. If he finds on the side of the road met mitzvah, a body that's not been buried, the Kohen Gadol could get on his hands and knees, dig the grave, put the body in the grave by himself, no problem, and bury this person. That's the beauty, the power, and the importance of chesed shel emet. My friends, I want to share something that I think is very powerful. Of course, what does this mean? This means that a person has an obligation to try and do chesed shel emet with someone that passes away. Now, back then, this was something that was incredibly rare. You're going to find a dead guy on the side of the road. There's not going to be anyone to call. You can't call misaskim, you can't call the Chevra Kadisha, you can't call the Ghostbusters. You have no one to call, right? Back then. Now, when is it possible that you're going to have a scenario of met mitzvah, chesed shel emet, a dead body on the side of the road? The answer is, unfortunately, it's a heck of a lot more common than you'd think. The numbers of people that are cremating their relatives that are not Jewish, that are not raised with a Jewish education, is staggering. It's not 50-50. It's much higher than that. Something like 70-30, 80-20 already in non-religious Jewish life. It is wild what's going on out there. So if you come from a traditional community like the Syrian community, you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I don't know one person that's what they did for their parents, for their grandparents, bar minan. I don't know one. But we, as we often forget, are the exception rather than the rule. Things that are going on in our community, you don't have anywhere else in the world. An intermarriage rate of less than 1% is not in existence anywhere in any community in the world. So it's important for us to understand that outside of our beautiful bubble, and people say a bubble like it's a negative thing, we should have more of these bubbles, okay? But outside of this bubble, it exists all over the place. And there are organizations that are set up specifically to deal with this. One of them is called NISAC, and they do great work in this space, and they provide amazing resources, things you could read, things you could send somebody, a little PDF, someone's thinking about it. You work with someone in the office, you find out that someone's passed away. Used to be, all you said was, Baruch Tayana Emet, I'm so sorry to hear, I'm sorry for your loss. Now you have to ask them, I'm so sorry for your loss. What are the plans for the burial? I'm not saying you should ask like a nosy person. Maybe you should say, I would think of, maybe if it's nearby, I'll attend. How many times does that simple question open the conversation? Then you find out what's going on. And a lot of times it comes down to money, and there's money available. People are dedicating, are sponsoring, giving money that a person should come to Kivurat Yisrael rather than be burned, obliterated. Okay? NISAC is one of them. I think so. NYSACK, I believe, or something like that. You can find it, very easy to find it. We had in this community, we had a scenario, not with someone from here, but someone that found out from someone else that the family of a Holocaust survivor was going to do cremation. And the rabbi that we got in touch with said, listen, it doesn't make sense to me that your grandfather survived the ovens of the Nazis to come here to be obliterated, to be turned into ash on the shores of America. He doesn't have to. They said, you know what, you're right, but cremation is a fraction of the price of burial. The rabbi said, so if I could put together the money to be able to do it, you'll be okay with it? They said, yeah, sure, we don't care. It doesn't make a difference to us. He said, Alay hayu kulana. The whole thing is on me. Within 10 minutes, we had the money raised. We were able to give someone, Kiburat Yisrael, he should be buried with dignity, that he should get up, B'tchiyat HaMetim, etc., etc. My friends, I want to share that this is a tremendous opportunity of Chesed Shel Emet. However, We went from a person on the side of the road to many people not knowing this law or not having the money to do it properly. But now I want to expand it. What is the beautiful thing about Chesed Shel Emet? Not that you buried a dead guy. The beautiful thing is that your Chesed is completely pure. There's zero return on your investment. ROI, zero. What did you make? 0x. My friends, let me share with you why this is so beautiful, why this is so important. Our Chachamim tell us on the pasuk, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, that the world is built on kindness. Doesn't only mean that if you set up a lemonade stand. Olam Chesed Yibaneh means that the world itself was built by kindness. Imagine the world prior to the fact that there was a world. Before the moment of origin, before the moment that anything came into existence. All there is in this existence is God. And God decides to bring a world into existence. Why did God do that? Why would God do that? The Ramchal writes in Derech Hashem that the only possible reason for God to create a world from nothing, ex nihilo, is from what? Is from chesed, is from kindness. Is to be able to do kindness with His creations. Now understand this. Borei Olam is infinite. There is nothing you could ever give to God. God doesn't need anything. He's not lacking anything. So therefore, this kindness of God that created the world was by its own definition a chesed shel emet. There's nothing that you could ever give Him. And by the way, in the act of creation, there was no one even there to be able to say thank you. So my friends, that is the concept of chesed shel emet. That is the idea of why it's so important. Because a person is in that way emulating God and connecting with Hashem. Never has a person connected more with God than when they are doing a kindness that they cannot and will not ever get repaid for. And that's why it's such an important action. My friends, this chesed shel emet does not have to be with dead people. It could be with live people. Normally though, there's something you're going to get out of it. But what if you helped someone and you didn't tell them? What if you acted quietly? The highest level of tzedakah is where the person doesn't know who it came from. And as well, where you don't know who it went to. You can't see the guy and feel a sense of satisfaction. I helped that guy. I built that. I made that. I brought the simcha. You gave the money, you know that it's in the right hands, and now it's going to be able to do what needs to be done. That's a chesed shel emet. You want to achieve chesed shel emet, have this wonderful communion, connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those opportunities are around us all the time. You just have to give in a clever way. You have to give in a generous way, in a way where you're not hoping, praying that you'll get something for it. My friends, I want to end by saying this. There is one last form of chesed shel emet. Not burying him, not helping someone when they don't know. And that form of chesed shel emet is what we say in the pasuk. The pasuk says about Yaakov Avinu, Vayechi Yaakov. Yaakov lived. And the Gemara tells us, Yaakov Avinu lo met. Yaakov Avinu did not die. Gemara asks, what do you mean he didn't die? They embalmed him. They buried him. The Gemara says, Mikra ani doresh. I'm learning the pasuk. The pasuk says, listen carefully, my friends. When a person leaves over children behind him, and Yaakov left over 12 shivatim, all of which were tzaddikim, then the person does not die. Because they are here and they are present in the actions of their children. They are eternally alive, kept alive by the children doing the actions of the father. My friends, what a beautiful chesed shel emet. Imagine you thought about your dad, your mom if they passed away. Imagine you thought about your grandfather, your grandmother if they passed away. You thought to yourself, what great midah, character trait, what great mitzvah did they love to do in this world that influenced me and my family. I go out and I do that mitzvah. What have I done? I've brought that person back to life. There they are in Gan Eden, unable to change their situation whatsoever in the next world. They are completely helpless. They can't thank you. They can't do anything. And here you are with this beautiful act, doing the most magnificent Hesed Shel Emet. What an amazing opportunity to be able to do for other people. I mentioned only recently, and I'll end with this, something that I heard on my grandfather's yahrzeit. I heard from my uncle. He was walking with my grandfather in the streets of Halab. And all of a sudden, as they're walking, my grandfather tells my uncle, go over there, get into that alleyway. My uncle says, he thought maybe he saw a terrorist, an anti-Semite. He says, go, go, go. And he runs in, and a minute later, my grandfather runs after him, and they're hiding over there in the alleyway. And the kid says, is everything okay? Abba, is everything all right? And my grandfather says, everything's fine. He says, so why are we hiding in an alleyway? He says, because I just saw someone from the Knis who owes me money. And every time he sees me, he tells me, I have it, I'm going to get it, I need to get it, I'm going to get it. He feels so embarrassed, he has to go through a whole rigmarole with me because he feels guilty about the fact that he hasn't paid me yet. I know he doesn't have any money. What does it help if he sees me and gets embarrassed again? So if we hide quickly, the person won't be embarrassed. What a great idea, mitzvah, for me to be able to do in my life, to try and not embarrass someone, to be able to emulate, to bring that element, that aspect of my grandfather to life yet again. And I'll tell you, when I was growing up, my father used to tell me all the time, not to hide in an alleyway, but when we were walking in Deal, New Jersey, on Shabbat, he would tell me, Shlomo, look away. Shlomo, look away. Look over there. And why would he tell me that? Because he'd see someone from the Knis driving on Shabbat down the road, and he would say, why should they see us? Why should they see our face and be embarrassed? Now, they're going to see us anyway, but they're not going to see us see them. And if any of you know my father, first of all, to keep that legacy from his father, not to embarrass someone, but also to know the way he inspires people. You can inspire people with a stick, or you can inspire people with a carrot. And my father is all about the carrot. With sweetness, with love, with acceptance, with raising somebody. My friends, what a zechut to see my father making and bringing my grandfather's legacy alive with every minute, with every breath of his leadership. Hashem should give him many long, happy, healthy years. Yarich yamim mamlachto, inshallah, in health, in success, in everything that he does. But this is an opportunity for all of us to look out for, to be able to do. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen.